Welcome back.
All right, that was quick.
Yeah. So you've mentioned there about the grey whales and the orcas as well. Sorry, the orca is my favourite animal out of everything in the entire world, not just the water, because I think they're amazing to look at to start with. Obviously, they work in a pack, and they mess up what most people think of as the apex predator in the great white shark. There's actual pods that go and they pretty much only eat great whites, which not many people know, and I just think that's so gangster.
Yeah, they love the liver. Like they're so surgical with their incisions on those sharks that they can just get the liver out and have a tasty treat.
Because there was some experiment carried out where they I don't know. I don't think it was an experiment. I think it was all of the great whites that were tagged around the time of the death of a great white shark from orca attack or whatever it was. I think every single one that was tagged dove 500 meters and swam like an insane distance away. Like in every like literally from that point, that was like ground zero. Everything just went pump. See you later. We're out of here because it was obviously recognised that there's a bigger dog in town.
Yeah, the orcas are that I saw when I went with my friend to the Pacific Northwest, the one I was talking about earlier. We went hoping to find orcas, especially for her. She really wanted to see them. And our first whale watching trip, we struck out, didn't see them. Booked another one the next day, and this was with like a smaller, faster boat. And we were in like um, Canadian waters. Like we had to cross over to find these orcas, and it was just so pretty to see them. We found like a bunch of females, and I think a young male, if I remember right. But they're just so pretty, and they're when they come up with their white patch right there, it's just it's like a core memory. You'll never forget it.
How do you um how do you know their sex?
So the males, the bulls, they call them, they have like that massive 6 foot dorsal fin. Um, each there's different like types of orcas. There's like transient, like bigs, orcas or killer whales, and like resident killer whales. And they'll all have like their different patches, marks. There's a gray spot on their back below their dorsal fin called their saddle patch. And that's like a really good thing to ID them with. But like the males usually have that big, stocky 6 foot. Like I don't know how tall you are, but like the size of like a tall man, like massive dorsal fin.
Oh,
And the females have a little more rake and a little more point. But the young males could start out with like a more young, like rakey, pointy dorsal fin, and then once they hit their growth spurt, that big, stocky dorsal fin just comes up.
nice. It's yeah. I just can't get over how that I'm having the privilege to speak to you about all this. To be honest,
Well,
like
it's just so fun to talk. I wish I knew more. Like, I wish I had my naturalist coworkers behind me, like spitting all the facts because they know everything.
yeah, no, but this for me, like I say, I'm an ape to the marine world. I know absolutely nothing about it really. Very little stuff. I watch, the um, deep sea and stuff like that. You know what David Attenborough does, but yeah, like the stuff that you see every day is just absolutely alien to me. Alien to me.
Yeah, that's why I love it because each time I go underwater, it's just like, what am I gonna find today? Like it's that mindset. It's not, oh, there's that same Garibaldi, and there's that same, kelp fish. It's everything's new, everything's refreshed. Same with whale watching. Once you get on that boat, that trip, you could have the trip of your life. And the Eastern Trans-Pacific killer whales could be in your area that day. So it's like a gamble, it's fun, and it's an adventure, which is why I love the whale watching industry.
Yeah, and I don't know whether that day would ever come where it would get boring. Whether you'd say, "Oh,
Mhm.
there's that seal again." Like it's yeah. I I've never really thought about moving to the seaside, but maybe I might do.
Yeah, if there's a harbor like close to you, 100%. look for like whale watching tours if they have any companies out there. It's
Yeah.
so fun.
And it's so because I was going to say then it is so different, but for you, is it different or is it just the norm because everyone that you're surrounded by does exactly what you do?
It's still different. Like I'm still super new to the industry. I'm still I have this book right here that I'm reading called The Handbook of Whales, Dolphins, and Porpoises of the World. And I literally like skim through this before bed sometimes. And you just see like the weirdest cetaceans that you didn't think exist and where to find them. And then I look like in my area and I'm like, oh wow, like there's a chance I can see um like a Brutus whale, which is they actually had I was sick and I missed it. They found a Brutus whale last week and I was actually on the dock and I was like, hey guys, I don't feel that well, but I brought my mask. But they like I knew better. I have to go home because COVID and everything. Luckily I tested negative. Um, and I was just on the dock almost throwing a fit. I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to go home. Go home. And then I just see they found a Brutus whale like on the first trip, I believe. And I'm like, dang it. But that's how it works. Like the trip you miss is the trip that's gonna have the cool whale or like a whale that's not common.
Yeah, 100%. The it's yeah, it's just an amazing world under there. I am very envious of you. I'm not going to lie. It seems like you've, it seems like you've, fell into something that you absolutely love. It's awesome to see someone. I'm not sure how old you are either. You've got a deceptive,
I'm about to be 27.
right? So you're still quite young. You're 6 years younger than me. And you seem to have found and hit your stride in something that you absolutely love.
Hmm.
And you can see it how your face lights up when you as you talk about it, like every interaction that I've brought up, the videos and stuff that we've spoke about, your face just like you're reliving that moment as I see
Yeah.
it, like, and you're seeing it through your eyes. I mean, I'm only seeing it through your camera, and you're seeing the before you press record and after you press stop. Do you know what I mean? You're seeing everything else with that. You put it on your flippers and all of that sort of stuff. So when you're like, what does a normal day sort of look like for you then? For you to then obviously get them pictures.
Well, like Thursday to Sunday, I'm usually working, well, when I'm not sick. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, is like my school days. So I'll have class, yeah, usually in the morning or the afternoon, and I'll find a window to sneak out and jump in the ocean. And of course, you got to check like the swell, the water temp, the wind to see how the visibility is going to be. But I've seen like my best things on low visibility days. So normally I just go no matter what. But if the surf's really good, then I surf. But so I load up my car, fins, goggles, snorkel, case, phone, sunscreen. I park, I walk down, put everything on, go in the water, and for like 2 hours, I just meander and like free float. And it's almost like, like people have like their little hobbies and stuff. I call it moving meditation, I guess. Like yoga is moving meditation. This one person like taught me that whole thing where some people like to be laying on a beach and like sleeping for relaxation, and other people's like to just hike. Moving meditation is a cool concept I learned about, and I think that's what snorkeling is for me or diving because there's like no really worries in my head, just taking in what I'm seeing at that moment and just finding new critters and stuff. But yeah,
You said then, and you said it earlier actually, and I forgot to interject. You said you obviously your snorkels, goggles, and all the rest of it, and then a case. What case? What have you got in that?
let's see if I have the box. Um, Here
You
we go.
just like
Actually, I started with an Access Go, and it was great. It worked well, but with use, things wear. And when like you start seeing like little problems, you just want to, pawn it off to a friend, and then get a new case. So I'm not sponsored by these people, but I just scavenge YouTube for good reviews on cases, and it's called the C Touch 4 Max by Dive.
yeah.
Um, I'm not like not sponsored by them at all, but it's actually meant for it's designed for like scuba diving for like great depths, like over 50 meters. I think even more than that. 60 meters, almost 200 feet. And you can still use the touchscreen. That's why I got this. The other ones that I had would have like a pistol grip, but you would have to hold the phone like this.
Right.
And that was my issue because when I send videos to like friends and families and Instagram and stuff, it's like this
Yeah.
portrait. So I was like, I'm just gonna get the touchscreen one, and you get full control of the phone. Like you can set the focus, set the exposure, choose where you want like the lighting to be. That case is great. No problems with it yet. Yet, I doubt it. This one person I saw on YouTube did like 30 dives, and when you're diving, you're like it's like clanking against all your gear. You're going super deep. Snorkeling is just a walk in the park for that case, probably.
So how long have you had that case?
I've had that case for only like 3 weeks, and
Right.
I've used it probably 10 times.
And how long did you have the other one?
The other one I had for 8 months, the Axis Go. That one you can use the touchscreen too, but there's like a big difference. So this case I have now, I'll like try to show it. You slide the phone in like that.
Yep.
So the only gasket is the top here, that tiny little spot. The Axis Go was like a big clamshell. So like you'd set the phone in, clamshell it, and then there's a gasket all the way around the phone. And the bigger the gasket, the more areas for failure. So like a little grain of sand or rock could get in there and break that seal. So I opted for one with a smaller gasket, which is this one, which has worked out great.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the Axis Go is also great.
yeah. And then when you said as soon as you get like a bit of a free period, how long do you need to get, get your gear on, get into the sea and have what sort of a time frame does that take?
It's like a 30-minute drive. So already an hour for there and back to my house. And then snorkeling, it just depends on like the conditions and stuff. There could be days where it's like cloudy out, so all the lobsters are out because they like darker and like nighttime stuff. And there's nothing too interesting out there. So it'll be a short snorkel for like an hour. And there's days where the water is amazingly clear and I'll stay out for like 3 hours. And it just depends on my school schedule. Like if I have afternoon class, I'm definitely limited. Luckily, like with my phone, I have my the time, so I just keep checking the time. And it sucks when I get like a really cool critter in front of the camera, and I know I have to get in my car in like 20 minutes to make my class at 5 p.m.
Do you always make your class at 5 p.m.?
I've been late, but they.
Due to something you've seen in the ocean?
I'm sorry.
Due to something you've seen in the ocean?
Yeah, I've been late because I've just like there's encounters like I saw a bat ray the other day, and they're just really big stingrays with a kind of like like a big forehead. They look really funny looking. And I was just hanging, and it kept doing loops. It had this little circuit where it just went up a rock through the kelp, down over the sand, and back again. And I just watched it, and I was just trying to see like what was it doing, looking for food, all that fun stuff. And that made me a little late to my class. So
Yeah. When you say a little late, what are we talking?
like the class was 2 hours, and I showed up like 45 minutes. I didn't get attendance for it, but I still got to be present and like ask questions about the material. So, but I took the final for that class and I passed it. So
Good, good. Yeah, that's
worth it.
good. Um, well, if unless you've got anything else, I'm happy to wrap this up. I mean, I could talk to you all day, but it would just
I could talk to you all day. I just wanted to say that thanks for having me on. And a big reason why I think I like posting this stuff is because I keep getting these cool comments like this person said, "This is amazing. Thanks for sharing things I never see in my life." So I was like, "Whoa!" I'm like
yeah.
really fortunate, and I'm in an area of the world where no one will ever see this throughout their entire life except through their phone.
This is so for me. You hands down, if you continue to obviously go out into the, or even if you don't, even if you stop now, you have. I mean, I've experienced things that you haven't experienced, but you will experience the day to day stuff. The majority of the stuff that I see, but then your other is the natural world in the ocean. My other is seeing blokes on a football pitch, which is normal. Do you know what I mean? The difference
Yeah.
is, and this is, I am so glad that I started this podcast. Like, it is, first of all, with the podcast, my first ever episode was my granddad, and he spoke about his time in a Saudi Arabian jail in the 60s that he spent 8 weeks in. And he also was mountain rescue for the Royal Air Force out in Cyprus in the Middle East. And he spoke about all of that and how, how much death he saw sort of throughout his life doing that, and all the plane crashes and the helicopter crashes and mountain climbers and stuff that he had to rescue. And then sadly, 2 months later, he passed away. So I managed to get that hour and a half on tape. Some of it my dad hadn't even heard. Like, my old man was like, I didn't even know about that. And it was all, and I got it all down and recorded. So I'll forever be grateful that I, had the bollocks to start this. And then
Right.
now, moving forward, the people I've spoke to has just been, it's like a second education for me, basically.
I think that whole interaction with your grandpa,
Yeah.
that was amazing because you essentially archived his story and his like history, and then you learned, and then even your dad learned. That's so cool. That's like best case scenario.
Yeah,
for all parties.
It was because how obviously he was 82, so he obviously is not this at all, podcast and all the rest of it. I said it to him, I don't know what that word is. Like, I've never heard that word. That word doesn't mean anything to me. And I said, it's like do an interview, do it. And I just got the stuff, and my dad said to me, he said, we'll put the stuff out, we'll just set it up. You start having a chat with him. If we get it down, we're all good. You know what I mean? Happy days. If we don't, then, we don't. If he only chats for 10 minutes and then we all get bored and, go to bed or whatever, you go, then, that's it. Then, nothing happened. And yeah, literally, like, it was my old man that sort of brought the interview to a close. He was like to me, my granddad, he's like, come on, it's 10:30. You need to be in bed, boy. And and he was just going, and he was just talking about, like, he used to get all the lads to polish the planes for him. He had a bit of a deal, so he made loads of money, like, on the side. And yeah,
he was probably so proud of that.
it was a whole thing. It was so funny, and I had so many people reach out, like distant family and stuff like that, saying, "Oh, listening to Uncle Ed was amazing," and all the rest of it. And yeah, and that was such a great story. And yeah, like I say, and then I've spoke to some absolutely amazing people since, obviously yourself included.
Thank you.
Because what you see on a day is, like I say, it's just completely out of the norm for me. I live in the UK in England, but I think almost as far away. Well, probably not, but I'm near enough as far away from the seaside as you can get. So whatever that would be for middle America. Well, it wouldn't be, obviously, because it's maybe a couple of 100 miles to get to the sea for me.
Okay.
120, but I'm just surrounded by countryside, so it's sort of forested, forests and all that sort of stuff is around me. There is a few lakes which I just jumped in, and I did a triathlon in, which was pretty cool.
Nice. That I've never done one. I hear they're like almost harder than marathons.
Yeah, well, I'm working up. I want to do an Ironman. Is the end game, which is obviously a marathon at the end of it. So that one is, pretty brutal. But yeah, the first one I did, it all came about for me just on a weight loss thing. But I've banged on about that on previous episodes, so I won't bore the that.
Yeah, that's awesome. From the healthcare perspective, what I've witnessed is if you don't use it, you lose it. So you keeping active, that's literally going to make your older years so much better. Like, you're going to be so mobile, and if you have grandkids one day, you're going to be able to pick them up and swing them around and play.
Yeah, that's like a massive thing for me. Is I want to make sure that I am as fit as I can be, like when I'm older. Like, I don't want to be the granddad that can't do anything with them or whatever like that. So that's a big thing for me. And just I had a vegan bodybuilder on recently, And I actually went to school with him. He's been vegan for 10 years. And, you know, like I was saying earlier about the, you know, all the hate online and all the rest of it, like that part of it, I said to him, like I said, you know, if you're going to come on and just be, you know, shouting and shouldn't be eating meat. And he's like, no, he's like, I know loads of vegans. None of us are like that at all. It's just these idiots. So he come on and we had a really good chat, and we both sort of come to the agreement that his side of the fence being vegan and my side of the fence being pretty much I eat only meat and fruit and honey. And so we're like literally opposite ends of the scale, but we both agreed that it's the stuff in the middle that's the problem rather than our sort of extremes of the diet. And it is, I think there is all just the junk food and how easy life is these days. You can just bang and you can get hot food delivered to your door. You've not even got to lift a finger.
Yeah, it's just accelerating to a point where have you seen the movie Wall-E?
Yeah.
It's like Grubhub, DoorDash.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can get anything you like delivered now. They like even shopping, you can get delivered to your door. So you never necessarily have to leave your house. We live such a life of comfort. So it's so cool to watch you go out in the sort of wilderness. I think that is probably why it sort of stands out against a lot of other Instagram reels that I've watched, because it's back. You are back in nature. Like I love all this, you know, the like meat eater, like the hunting show on Netflix and stuff like that, because it is back in the outdoors, how we should be. Like my man goes shooting, but it is hunting, but it's not really. It's all sort of cultivated, so it's, you know, they have beaters that chase the birds out the woods, and then as they fly out, they come over with their shotguns, bang bang. It's not like hunting, you know, like you see on that meat eater where they're literally tracking the animal and all that sort of stuff, literally out in the wild. And that is such an appealing thing for me for America. I've mentioned a few times to a few people. I don't think I've mentioned it on the podcast, but I would love to move to America. I mean, I've never even been to America, but
If you come out and you bring your kids for vacation, if you stay in Southern California, we can all go snorkeling. I can show you all the good spots.
that would be amazing. It's just because once you're in America, and I understand, like people say, obviously Americans are thick and they don't know anything. Not all Americans are thick, obviously. That Americans like geography in America is pretty shit for the rest of the world. But I'm with them on it, because if you live in America, there's not much reason to leave, because you can go to any climate. You can do any sort of climate, any activity. There's nothing else in the world that you can do that you can't do in America. You've got a huge Asian population, so your Chinese food in Chinatown, all the rest of it is going to be pretty close to what you get in Asia. And all, you know, everything. There's such, you've got the mountains, you've got the beach, the you know, jungles and all swamps and all that sort of. There's nothing that you need to leave for.
Yeah, like the mountains are amazing because they're only like, especially California, we're so spoiled because like 4.5 hours away is Mount Whitney, and that's the tallest mountain in the lower 48 states. Alaska has some taller ones, but like in the lower 48 states below Canada and above Mexico, you can jump in the water, swim around on the sand at the beach, drive and get to Mount Whitney at like 1 p.m. You can't climb it in time, but you can just be at the base of the tallest mountain in the lower 48 states in the span of a single day.
Yeah. It's yeah, like you say, it's you can't do that.
And it's like alpine conditions up there, like pure mountaineering, like during the winter, like people go ice climbing and stuff, like full on rappelling. And you can just drive back down to the beach and jump in the water and snowboard on the way down. There's a mountain, a Big Bear.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, and that's what I mean when people say about it. Obviously, there's these reels that I see sometimes, and they're like interviewing people, and they're like, "Oh, where's Germany?" And they're like, "Oh, in Asia or whatever." But it's like, yeah, it's why do they need to worry themselves with that sort of stuff when they don't never need to leave the country? I think it's an astonishing amount of people that don't have passports as well, isn't it? In
Oh yeah, like I think I had to get mine for like a Coast Guard card for my boat jobs. That's what I use my passport for, just for like ID purposes. But a lot of my friends like don't have them, but I would definitely travel specifically for waves. Like traveling for waves, surfing in different oceans. Like I've never surfed in the Atlantic. It's on my bucket list. Really want to go to like I don't know where are the good waves up there. Like the south of France, South France. There's like waves up there. Do you guys have waves? I think you guys have some waves on
Uh,
the.
Cornwall's pretty good. Yeah, I had another little plug for my episode 2. I had the pro men's British kite surf champion,
Nice.
2021. Yeah, he was another one. My brother was best mates with him growing up at school. He was 2 years younger than me at school, so I've known him since he was 5. So yeah, and not a lot, but I think within the first 10 episodes, I think 5 or 6 of the guests I've known most of my life. And they're just fascinating people, and I'm very lucky to have them around me, to be honest.
That's why I think this podcast is like amazing because you got closer with the people you already knew, but then you get to it's I feel like you're traveling without traveling because then you get to hear the side of the story from that part of the planet, from that person's point of view, and you're just essentially like you're becoming like a library of knowledge from all these other people.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said to you, it's like a second education for me. It's like when I was at school, I didn't really give shit about school, because I was just I I had it in my head that I was going to become a professional footballer. My old man believed I was going to be. I thought I was good enough. Whether other people thought I was good enough was, by the by. I didn't listen to any outside noise. This is what I wanted to be, and that was it. Obviously, it didn't pan out. Um, and now I'm like, yeah, I've got sort of regrets, obviously, looking back at school that I should have probably knuckled down a bit. And I was a BC student, like yourself, and it was just, yeah, mine was just a lack of, application. But now I get to speak to people like yourself. I spoke to my previous guest was from Singapore. But again, I would never have got the opportunity to speak to someone from Singapore. And yeah, it's just like there's just a wealth of knowledge out there that I'm just so thirsty to learn now. And it's just happened, that I was 32 when I started this. Obviously, I'm 33 now, and yeah, I just want to continue doing it. And even if even if I had one listener, my old man with his, with his flag and stuff waving, I would still want to do this, and I'd still want to talk to people because no matter how, and I don't look at people's, the amount of followers they have on Instagram or anything like that. If I enjoy their video, I'll click on their message straight away. I'll message them, and that's it. I'm not doing this to clout chase or anything like this. I just want to get to know people and speak to them on a deeper level. Like one of my mates, I was in the RAF with a lad, and he'd had an alcohol addictions from when he was 14. Well, I didn't know that until he came on the podcast. And we used to go out drinking together twice a week for 3 years. And I never knew that. And then I learned about it all on the podcast, and we talked for like 2 hours.
That's just like amazing how the whole time you thought you're having fun, getting some drinks, and then now it all comes out, and then
Yeah.
you got to rethink all those moments in the past.
I was helping fuel his abuse. And I was just like, but he was 22-year-old lad in the military. So
there's no way you would have known, right?
No, but it's just so mad how much deeper a connection we've got. And he's been a massive advocate of the podcast as well. He's like, yeah, good on you, Jack. He's like, you get on with it. Like, you do what you want. Whatever people say, just ignore them and crack on. And I would anyway. He knows I would. But yeah, it's just been amazing. And I have had a few negative comments and stuff, but
yeah, I just like you said, just you're bettering yourself. People love talking to you. Your setup's great. Might I add that your voice is perfect for podcasts. Like United States people, for some reason, they love that accent, the British accent. It's like the staple podcast accent.
Right, okay.
Yeah, like from my point of view, that's like this is what a podcast sounds like.
Good. Well, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
And it's I just do feel so privileged. And you mentioned it earlier actually, and that hit home as well. And I think you have to have it, is about the imposter syndrome. I think you absolutely 100% have to have that, and that worry that it's all going to come crashing down if you don't pull your finger out. and just live every day and just grasp at it with everything you got. If that's what you want to do and you want to achieve from life, a certain thing, and that thing is different for everyone. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be podcasting, it could be whatever it is. But if you put everything into it, you can never look back and say, oh, what if? Because you put 100% into it. If you put 100% into it and you still failed, then that wasn't that wasn't the path for you. But if you half-assed it and then you look back and go, I think I could have made something of myself in that. This what if. Don't do what if, do 100%. And if you fail, then move on to something else and give that 100%.
Yeah, imposter syndrome, I think it's like necessary for growth, even though it's the opposite when you encounter it. It's like telling you, you shouldn't be here, find something else.
I get it a little bit before every podcast, especially when I'm doing it over Zoom. I have like a mild fright and I'm like, I'll message him and cancel. And I'm a very confident bloke, like really confident. Usually to anyone that's known me for out of my life, I would say arrogant almost. And yeah, but I get like an hour or so before this podcast, I was like, I'll just message him and say, can he do tomorrow? And I just have a little moment, and it is literally like a couple of minutes, and then but I know it's going to pass because it's happened so frequent now. But I have that sort of like mild panic, and then boom, and then I'm right. Yeah, we're good. I need to sort this, that, and the other, and yeah. But this has been I can't thank you enough for this, Michael. It has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I hope we can do it again. To be honest, I want to.
Yeah, I hope I get some more sightings and I can learn more about the animals and come on and teach.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if I keep doing this, like I say, I'm going to continue to do this for years and years and years. So I'm going to have repeat guests on, no doubt. And yeah,
and like you said with the negative comments, just ignore them, because from the healthcare perspective, there's a lot of people that are bed confined, whether it's like they're getting chemo, they're paralyzed, they're just unlucky, and there's young guys too that just they're bedbound. So a lot of their life is they view media through screens and stuff. So when you post content and they're like hearing stories from people that they would have probably never met, unfortunately, like because of their condition. But like as a future nurse, I think about that. Or if I'm caring for a chronically bedbound patient, like phones are such a good thing because it connects them. It kind of removes that barrier. Like they can still be present in the online world and like video call and talk to people and learn and see new things and listen to you on your podcast. So from a healthcare thing, this is great.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, like I said, I don't know how many times now. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast, Michael. It's been a privilege to speak to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was awesome. It's got an amazing setup, and that voice is just butter.
Thank you very much. Whoa.
Right. Yeah, it's late for you, right? 10:30.
And it's not too late. I'll just sign us off and then we can chat after. Yeah, well, thank you very much, Michael. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yeah, thank you. This has been fun and eye-opening, and I loved it. This is a great podcast.